the one thing I like about Frank and Chris when they talk, it captures the sort of country we live in. You get an idea of how much Kavuyo we are in.
No, it's not about Kavuyo. It's about the freedoms.
Yeah, but also,
you see, Obore enjoys and survives on writing lies and limits.
That is my profession.
Exactly.
From people.
Your profession is still lies.
How can you steal from people?
What do you mean by steal from
Salam,
people?
with all this,
20 million, what do you do?
With all this in mind,
How special are you to earn 20 million?
How much do you earn?
Okay, guys, come on.
Primary school teacher and you're getting 20 million.
How much do you earn?
How do we get out of this situation that we're in?
I think we cannot entrust the future of this country to men.
We've got to have more women involved.
Yeah, we've got to have the
So
women
you've left
take charge.
FDC, you've gone feminine now.
Because with adrenaline at this level,
Testosterone and all this.
all those things, we are.
Who's bigger than who?
We are all in danger.
Right.
And so to avoid self-destruction, we need to taper down the voices, and this is where the women gender.
Are there women who can actually run this country?
Oh, there are plenty of us. Only that we cannot run it the way you have constructed it. We need to deconstruct it, we need to unpack it, and we need to construct it afresh so that it responds to the needs of the people, not to the greed to which it has been, to the corruption. Because there's no country as corrupt as Uganda. Systemic and systematic. From morning to evening, they plot how to rob, and it's so systemic, it's a syndicate.
Robbing without paying taxes.
And for me, the failure is
I hate taxes as
the
well.
failure is in the fourth estate.
I would ask you,
The failure is
whether
in
you
the
have
fourth
a PIN
estate.
number.
Hold on. Let her finish.
He may not even have a TIN
Hold
number.
on a second.
I am
She's
holding.
making a point.
You have a TIN number, tell us.
Madam,
You see the danger we are in,
yes.
pops and all
It's
this
not
text.
a danger.
So you're saying something?
I'm saying that the fourth estate's failure in this country is also a big point that has made this country very vulnerable. When you look at the civic competence of Kenya and Tanzania, for instance, you cannot equate it to Uganda. Uganda are laid back. Ugandans don't know even what the arguments are. That's how sad the situation is. Yesterday I was listening.
And you're absconding your duty as a politician to make sure
I
that
do
this
my
message.
best, but you see, we have also become allergic to knowledge as a group of our generation. We have become allergic in a knowledge.
What neutralizes that? Your existential challenges or what?
It is because we are all a patchwork. People come in from all places, and then their egos, they have arrived. They are all in the arrival lounge, so you are equal. But you are equal in what? I mean, some people have come to parliament because they have done a lot of burials. Some of them have stolen enough votes.
And women have also ended up in parliament because of who they've slept with.
That is true. That is true too.
So to say that women are an alternative is not necessarily
when all that is said and done, they remain intact.
That's
Because they are women.
What would we do?
Yeah. Well, Angelo, please come in.
What do we do in a country where people who are supposed to be helping us milk cows are the ones in parliament? What do we do?
So they milk you.
That is it. They are now milking us.
So you're saying we have peasants in parliament?
Exactly. Cattle keepers.
Yes, someone wrote that the
So you despise
Auditor General's report reads like
despise them.
a chapter
You
of
think they are
Hadismen.
Alibaba
They are
and the 40
also-
Thieves. but the truth is, the political enterprise has to provide ambition to young Ugandans.
Yeah.
Young Ugandans today are competing with their generation everywhere around the world, whereas those other guys have got serious institutions and a culture behind them. And you have to ask yourself, how these young Ugandans, where will they get the push from?
But we're young. We are young nation. At 50, we're not old.
And Uganda, by the way, often generations have come to power through crisis. And that's what everyone is trying to avoid. The NRM particularly, whose generation born out of crisis, dictatorships in the past, a collapsed economy when they came in 86. And people accepted at that point that, look, there's a crisis and new guys are here to sort it out. But now, 20-something years later, do you want a crisis again to, lift the stage curtains for a new group of guys to come through? I don't think so. I think that you can win these by superior ideas. I just don't hear them.
But Angelo, the young generation is living off the master thieves. Because they are vulnerable.
Are you talking about Frank again? What's wrong with you?
Do you really want to see the tragedy of Uganda?
Alan,
I want you to go to Nakumat
Well,
Yeah.
during
Can I
holiday
make my
time
argument?
and
Yeah.
just park there and see the rich people's kids
Can I make
in
my
the yard.
argument? Can I
Right.
make my argument?
Then you'll see the
You see,
tragedy
the
of
way
this
forward for
country.
Uganda, Alan,
Yeah.
is not going to come from the ping pong of those who want power. You get it? To the contrary, I don't agree with Honorable Salama when she
It's
says
called Salam, not Salam.
whatever the name is, but
It's
I give her the
okay.
respect
It's
she
okay.
deserves. I don't agree with her when she says Uganda's political civil competencies lag behind in the East African region. To the contrary, some people have had misgivings over the integration process because they feel Ugandans
Are too vibrant.
are over politicized.
No, they are
Okay.
thieves.
Well, that's your thinking. That's your thinking.
They are
You know
grabbers.
that obsession. That obsession.
But he makes a point. The guys in government are thieves. No, let's not.
Let me make my point. You see,
He
Alan,
makes a good
you
point.
see, Alan, when I come here on this show, I want to make it a point. I love to be listened to.
You are listened
Exactly.
to. You're recorded
You
that.
see, it's not a matter of just shouting thieves,
know,
thieves,
airtime
thieves.
and they record your
If
monologue.
you are obsessed with thieving, if that is your culture, if that's your habit,
Yeah.
then there are so.
Okay, fair enough.
Exactly.
But you see,
don't just
when
make
you
it a
live-
point
when you-
every
when you-
time
when you live in a country where there are
So
thieves, you
let
can't
me,
really
let,
run
let
away
me
from
make
that.
my point. Let me make my point. If they are thieves, then that means there are those who also benefit from the thieves to facilitate them in newsrooms.
And
That point I have said it.
And by the way,
but that's said and done.
Okay,
By the way,
I need to
that's
switch this
said and
conversation.
done.
I need
The
to switch this
generation-
conversation. So,
the
let's
generation,
hurry up.
the generation that is coming up, to the contrary, is a quality generation that is demanding things my mother and my father didn't demand yesterday. So even the NRM I belong to must come up with innovation to respond to the client's needs. Who are the clients? The young
citizens,
citizenry.
not
The
citizens,
young
but
citizenry.
clients.
No, I am trying to be professional
Vis-a-vis
really. The people
patrons?
you serve are your clients.
Okay,
you
that's-
get the
that's
point.
okay. I thought it was talking about patrons and clients.
No. So they need today, my son who goes to school with Obori's son. You get it?
they don't go to the same schools, man.
Okay.
You have to go to Kenya.
Obore can be Okelo now.
Yeah.
Obore can be
The thieves
Okelo.
came from the bush
So now,
and they have
what
continued
they,
stealing in
what they
power.
demand today now, what they demand today is internet as a right,
Yeah.
as the other telecom tells us,
Yeah.
is infrastructure as a basic right. It's not what happened the other day.
Do you think you
It's-
guys are matching up to those expectations?
Why not?
Okay, fair
Why
enough.
not?
Let's switch the conversation.
Why
I need to
not?
talk about
Why
something
is
else
growth
here.
being registered?
Okay, Kabakumba
Which is
Masiko was let off the hook.
There you are.
She did not steal the stuff she was alleged. She
There you
allegedly
are.
stole.
There you
Were you
are.
happy when you heard that?
There you are. That is the kind of good governance.
No.
Frank
But
ushered in.
she went through a process. The prosecutor said there was no case here, and to be
Let
fair,
me tell you, the police know. If Alan, if you have stolen any property without your knowledge, you also become a thief, according to law.
so what are you
I am a lawyer.
saying?
Yes, according to
I am a lawyer.
yes, Salam. Is another case.
Salam is not
Being
a lawyer,
found
is she?
with
No.
in possession of stolen property, you become a thief.
So is she one of those leaders you're talking about, Kabakumba Masiko, one of the ones that you think will propel this country?
Not in the list.
No,
But
you
I
don't
think
rate
that's
her.
why. I think that's why she was caught.
Are you saying?
But she was
are you,
absolved of all wrong.
are you
Let me
accusing
tell
her
you,
of being
She
caught?
was
by
caught.
Yes.
The bottom line is she was caught.
She was absolved as well.
No. That is all politics. Because a mast got lost.
Right.
A mast was found with her.
It's really nasty, isn't it?
You see?
It was quite messy.
And,
that.
and the mast really got lost.
And then Kawoyo,
And she was in charge.
and Kawoyo also paid the fine and got
And,
away with
and
it.
it's
You see?
denying.
And she was
And
convicted.
behind as well paid the fine and walked away.
Why?
Exhaust the
And
list.
why? And why
Exhaust
should
the
he?
list. Exhaust the
Fair
list.
enough, fair-
Yeah.
yeah,
You
fair
know
enough.
behind it?
Fair enough.
Yes, tell people who is behind it.
You tell
Tell
them.
FDC MP in Kasese.
Yeah, yeah.
Alan,
Yes.
Alan,
So be fair now.
Yeah,
be
yeah.
careful who you invite here. From NRM, they always hold the microphone.
No.
They began stealing masks.
Why? Why do you want to cut the list short?
This is
Those
class that
who
will go.
You see hypocrisy.
Now go on radio stations.
No. Why do you cut the list short?
They are failed to see
Okay,
man
you
now
said
they steal
Kabakumba.
microphones.
Kabakumba has
Even the
been
glasses.
cleared.
Yeah.
By the
Don't go with the
Yeah,
glass.
I think let's be fair to Kabakumba Masiko.
fair.
She has not been convicted.
Yeah.
The
She can even
prosecutor
sue you
said.
She go to
for your
court.
Holocaust.
What do you think of all this, though? You know, she's been. She was tested. She was investigated.
Who tested? Who tested?
She was investigated.
By who?
But corruption is an old story here.
Yeah.
Really?
If you start looking, behind under the beds and inside the closets, people, like I said, is the real issue here about poverty anymore or inequality? And
It's both.
my colleague Andrew used to say, well, this is a government where Dracula is in charge of the blood bank. Yeah, and
Okay, so would you like to see
But
that
if
bill
I ask a
that is being
question
talked
to
about?
Salam,
Yeah.
If I may ask to Salam, why should the DPP make no sense when in his wisdom drops charges on Kabakumba, the NRM leader, and he makes a lot of sense, or you just say he was pushed politically when he drops charges on an FDC leader. Why don't you want to give credit where it is due?
Listen, please.
Or why do you believe?
No, but listen to her. You've asked her
Do
question.
not mislead this country.
No, answer my
The
question.
DPP,
Yes.
the DPP is not involved in
The investigation.
Bihande. That was IGG.
I am not talking about Bihande. How many
That's
cases
what
of,
you're saying.
How many cases of wasting have been dropped?
But
for
come on, there are
example?
more government cases of thieves. Let's move to
Okay,
something
no,
else.
Alan,
You come here to moderate.
There is no, but surely
You don't come here
but
to shoot
surely-
down our argument.
Why are you
My point
intimidating?
is, Kabakumba, no case was found on Kabakumba.
Right.
So you want now to use your popular word among yourselves, which I don't use. You want to
which you're about to
bastardize.
use.
You want to bastardize the process of how
Hey,
Kabakumba was
I've said Kabakumba.
So
Kabakumba.
why is it that the same institutions?
I have defended the
when
fact
they-
that she has
when
actually
they, when they
let off the
remove
hook.
a moment, when they remove cases on opposition leaders, name X, Y, Z, why do you say after all they were not there? Why do you want to politicize
Alan,
corruption?
Alan.
How many
Because-
opposition
because-
leaders
because
have we,
you want
have we had?
politicize corruption?
How many
But
Because it's a
opposition
political
leaders?
issue.
This
That-
is
it
about,
makes
this is
an
about
important
politics
sense.
and
Don't we have,
By the
don't
way-
we have
But
audit
there-
reports?
Let me tell
Yeah,
you,
let's
we have
listen.
audit
the
reports?
argument
Yeah.
is that, you see, corruption has become a tool of dominance. There are tribes that are allowed to go away with corruption in order to amass
Really?
wealth
Has it come to
and
that?
dominate others.
Has it come to that?
It is that.
Salam,
but-
what Salam is
Which
saying.
tribes?
Listen, what Salam is
Number
saying.
six.
That's narrow thinking.
Frank.
No, it's
Which
not.
tribes?
Frank.
It's not.
List
Has it
the
come-
people
has
in
it
court
come to
and-
that?
I want to list.
Give
I
us
want to
a-
list them.
Yes, yes.
I shall list Mukula, Kaboyo.
Why is she in court? Why is Mukula in court?
Kawaya is out of court.
Kaboyo is out of court. Muhwezi,
Out of court as an
Kutesa,
acquittal as what?
Nasasira.
Why are they in court?
I can give you the names. You can profile them and
Yes.
you will know
Alan,
that yes, the West has used corruption and it wants to dominate the rest of us.
Alan,
Well,
why
That's
did
a very interesting
listen,
point.
Not
no, no.
It is.
There's an element to that point.
It's not
Yeah.
trivial.
What
No,
they
it's
say.
not
Let's
trivial.
not lose the point there. I agree. Can I make that point?
Yeah.
I agree.
Corruption is
The
tribal.
people.
Oh,
Yes.
Listen.
So you're also
No,
stealing
no, no, no,
petrol soccer.
no, Alan, look at
I
this.
have no opportunity.
no, Salam.
She doesn't have an opportunity, but
I don't even have-
Listen, far from me.
Yeah.
Please.
I agree with the Salam that the people we see at the political level, because of the nature of appointments, seem to become from the West. But to say that theft is now an exclusive privilege for the Westerners is wrong. There are people from the North
Like who?
who are in the civil service. There are people from the East who are chronically thieves.
in civil
And
service.
they are quiet in civil
Yeah.
service. Now, the
Of course,
point I
yeah,
want
that's
to
civil
service, yes.
make is, all this has come about because stealing is the oxygen which keeps NRM alive. It is the oil that drives this man's party. Without it, there is no NRM.
Okay.
It depends on stealing.
So do we need that
It is
bill?
a thieving
Do we need,
party,
while you are at
it
it,
will die stealing.
do we need that bill that
Now-
basically stipulates
Can I
that
respond
the
to
president
Obore?
as well?
Alan, you see,
It does-
they
and then I want you to comment on the bill as
There are
well.
always three views against one.
Yeah, fair enough.
You should always allow me to
Okay,
punch
okay.
holes in some of these obvious
Okay.
observations.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I also want you to comment about the bill that says that the president and others should be involved in this whole.
Interestingly,
because-
it's not yet a bill.
yeah, it is big.
Members of parliament
Are
are
still looking at
trying
it.
to
Some
push for a
proposal.
private.
Would you
members
support
bill.
it? It's a proposal.
It
yeah.
will depend. You see, when a bill comes, you presume to have done background study.
Right.
You presume to be saying that there are some lacunas in the existing pieces of legislation.
And those lacunas have to be disclosed.
Exactly. So if the movers convince us and show us those lacunas, why not?
Okay,
But
fair
if
enough.
it's out of some kind of politicking, then we also get to know that.
Okay, you're
Because
responding to
people have said that what Uganda is lacking are not enough laws, but perhaps the implementation. The other point I wanted to respond to Bori, where I agree with him, of course, criminality is personal liability. Really, people who politicize, they talk against corruption, also in a way become corrupt. Because as Obore says, when you talk of ID scandal or Chogamu scandal, people who were involved, I do not know whether a certain tribal caucus sat and nominated someone to head that one. Corruption is an ethical issue as well as a moral issue. And if we are really to dig everywhere, whether opposition, whether DP, whether NRM,
You'll find corruption.
it could come to an individual.
What
Okay.
Salam is saying,
Let me come back
there
with
are privileged thieves, and then there are petty ones in districts.
Okay,
That's
Angelo.
trivial talk.
The
Let's
privileged
now
ones are like
switch.
you.
That's trivial.
Let's switch.
talk.
Let's switch our
That's
focus to
trivial talk.
Bunagana.
You know,
There's a bit of an incident on the border where we've heard that Ntaganda and his M23 has taken over the border town of Bunagana, and about 700 Congolese government forces ran into Uganda, and they were disarmed by the Ugandan forces. I would have thought that because they are two countries, you'd rearm them and send them back and tell them go and fight and good luck to you. But clearly that hasn't happened. What do you think is going on there? What in broad strokes, because we've run out of time, what is the situation in your analysis?
Well, Uganda is in a difficult process because the whole Eastern Congo question has never been resolved. It wasn't resolved by the war in the 90s, that took out Mobutu, and it hasn't been resolved by the attempts at democracy in the whole of Congo. So currently what I'm hearing is that M23, if it takes enough territory, possibly will declare a Kivu Republic. But I think that there's an attempt to go for some sort of autonomy as the latest.
And you come from the school of thought that would provide some sort of solution.
Well, yes, I think that decentralization in Congo hasn't worked very well. You need an entity that can establish force and control in the East. Now, of course, my own feeling is that the rest of East Africa will interact better if there's order in the political and social order in the east of Congo. Yes. But
how do you need to then structure such a thing to make it sustainable? Because Ntaganda might be here today, gone tomorrow. How do you make it sustainable for the rest of the region? Because you want to have someone there that is going to be consistent for an extended period of time, if you know what I mean.
What is true is that elections and that civil war both have not succeeded in resolving Eastern Congo's problems. Salam Musumba and others who are in lawmaking.
Discuss with Professor Mamudani. It's very academic.
No.
You can come with it.
You can have your own talk show where you decide on what to talk about. Okay? You can have your own talk show where you decide to talk about. Hold on a second.
The thing here is, those people are coming here. My worry is, tomorrow they're going to be voters for NRM. That's the biggest problem. The rest you can talk, but
my comment on
they're going to be kept as refugees and they will be now voters registered.
I'm going to comment on this.
Not at all, of course. There are issues that will pass away. But there is cause for alarm and cause for worry for the citizens of Uganda. And that's the point I think we discussed here. And I remember an argument from Angelo about the porosity of our borders. You can never sleep when your neighbor's house is catching fire, well knowing that it will create a threat to yours. Of course, you've had the implications. For us in Kamwenge, we are feeling the implication. The more Ntaganda just or unjustified war continues, the more influx of refugees you have.
How about this argument that the whole of Eastern Congo should just secede and then come and be stabilized by some parties? This is an argument.
It should be a matter done through dialogue. The way Southern Sudan...
And not war.
And not war. War will cost the region. Because Congo's suffering is Uganda's suffering, is Rwanda's suffering. That's why, for example, now you hear the ping pong between the Kigali government and the UN. Whoever is telling the truth or whoever is lying, there is cause for alarm. Rwanda would say we have interests. The more ungoverned the Congo part that it remains, the more insecure we are, because the FDR will have a home. And that's not only a cause for Rwanda, that's also a cause for Uganda. Because what was the home of the ADF? The home of the ADF was from the ungoverned part of Congo. So really, it's not an issue we should just trivialize. It's an issue, I think, at strategic level, our leaders should be concerned. It's an issue the EAC should be concerned about, as well as the African Union.
You said that President Museveni is getting excited, rubbing his hands, readying himself for another opportunity to,
No, it's actually worse, because you see Uganda burnt its fingers during that war. Remember, we withdrew in disgrace, even if I didn't support the withdrawal of Ugandan troops. But we withdrew in disgrace. We lost a major case in the International Court of Justice. There's an award hanging over our head of $10 billion. So Uganda is even if you wanted to intervene, an intervention could be one of the options. How do you do it?
The Congo is a real confusion. So when did the Eastern Congo become destabilized? You got to go back to that point. I grew up.
It's a historical problem.
No,
is
it's
it
not exactly. What factors held it stable?
When?
Between the 70s,
When was
around the
Congo ever
70s,
won?
around the 70s.
Mobutu Sese Seko for what?
Was Congo
I will
one?
tell you that resources, the struggle, the scramble for resources in Eastern Congo by the generals
From
is a
Uganda.
big, no, within the Great Lakes region, the generals in Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, plus their mercenaries around the places who fly in planes in the night. It's all about resources. And these resources within the bigger political
But even the greater, even the Canadian, okay, we've run out of time, but
Yeah.
even all those countries abroad, if they really wanted that place stable, they would not be sending in Bangladeshi
No.
soldiers, really.
But
No,
they were
no,
the biggest
no.
exploiters.
Yeah,
They are
and
still.
it's still in their
So
interest,
in the
rather than
And
saying,
that's why President
listen,
Museveni
all
tells
of
you
them,
Yeah.
all
that
of them,
these states are better off in one block as East Africa.
okay, let's leave that conversation
Is that
there.
the reason why Uganda is not better off on its own? We should first become East Africa to be
Look
better
at the
off.
journey we've walked. Don't just dream
hey,
and walk.
answer that.
Look
You
at the
answer
journey
that.
we've walked.
No, you answer.
Chris Oboro is too
Look
smart
at
for
the
me.
journey we've walked.
Chris Oboro is too smart for me. That's the problem.
Not too smart.
I'm going to
It's
say,
not a subjective or negative.
I'm going to say thank you very much to my esteemed panel of guests, starting, of course, with the Deputy President of FTC, the Honorable Salam Musumba. I've also got to say thank you very much to Chris Obore and the Honorable Frank Tumeba.
The lonely voice on your show.
The only voice of reason.
The man who
Of
earns,
reason, I guess a good one.
the man who earns 20 million for sleeping.
And then, of course, we've got Angelo
But you have more
Izama.
appetite for sleeping
And
than
but if someone gave you 20 million, would you refuse it?
For no work, like this one, who
for
claims
no
to
work.
be a leader.
For no work.
how much do you earn?
Masquerading as
From
a
the
leader.
monitor.
Hey, thank you. See
from
you
the
next
other
week.
source,
Bye.